Hi friends, have you ever read through the Old Testament and wondered, what does this mean anyway? Well, it's written to you as an example from God, and in this series I am helping you to see how the Old Covenant and the New Covenant link together. Today we're going to look at Numbers chapters 12 to 13. Numbers chapter 12 verses 1 to 3 says, while they were at Hazareth, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because he had married a Cushite woman. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he spoken through us too?" But the Lord heard them. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any other person on the earth. This passage highlights Miriam in one of her least dignified moments. However, Miriam was a woman of God and a leader over Israel. In one of Israel's history lessons, God reminded Israel that he had sent Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to help them. Those siblings were a divine trio of holy leadership. If a woman in the Old Covenant could operate in God-ordained authority over the entire congregation, then we can certainly expect to see women operating lawfully in leadership in the New Covenant, contrary to what some leaders may teach. Where Miriam was wrong was that she moved out from under her authority. She wasn't wrong when she said that she was chosen by God as his mouthpiece in the congregation. She was wrong in criticizing Moses, who had even greater authority. The same lessons apply in the New Covenant. God has and does choose women for leadership positions. Women should be free to operate where God puts them while responding appropriately to their spiritual covering. The link is in Acts 2, 16 and 17. No, what you see was predicted long ago by the prophet Joel. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit upon all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams. By the way, I talk much more extensively about this subject in my book, How to Succeed in Ministry. Of the many lessons that we should learn from today's reading, another one that stood out to me was that when the people complained against either God or Moses, God's anger blazed out against them, sometimes in literal fire or plagues. But when Moses complained to God about the burden of the people, God gave him a divine strategy to help him manage. There is obviously a huge difference between Moses' frustrated complaints and the people's. God actually called the people's complaints rebellion. Remember that when Israel complained about what they were going to eat, God generously provided plenty of manna for them. Interestingly, the manna from heaven, though delicious, did not come down ready-made. They had to work this provision into a meal. This was a need they genuinely had, and God provided it. But when they complained about not having meat, this was considered by God as an insult on his provision and deliverance, to the degree of it being rebellion. This time, God gave them what they asked for, but then made them sorry for it. Psalm 106, verse 15, recalls this event as God giving them what they asked for, but sending leanness to their souls. God does delight in answering our requests, but not when they're asked with an attitude that is nasty or rebellious. In Numbers 13, 17 to 20, it says, Moses gave the men these instructions as he sent them out to explore the land. Go north through the Negev into the hill country. See what the land is like and find out whether the people living there are strong or weak, few or many. See what kind of land they live in. Is it good or bad? Do their towns have walls, or are they unprotected like open camps? Is the soil fertile or poor? Are there many trees? Do your best to bring back samples from the crops you see. When I read this spy tale, I noticed that Moses gave the spies a list of things to look for in the promised land. If they could was never one of the questions. Why? Because God had already answered that question preemptively. He told them they would. Yet, when the spies came back, 10 out of the 12 ended their report by answering a question they had no business asking to begin with. They said, "There's no possible way we can take that land." I'm sorry, what? What about what God had said? Sadly, we know this story ends badly. Even though 2 spies tried to encourage the nation to go in and get their promised land, it wasn't enough to counter the negativity of the other spies. The damage had been done by the fear of the majority. How many promises has God given you that you question whether he can or will accomplish in your life? Those are not questions we should ask. Instead, let's believe in faith what God says. The link is in Mark 9:23. When Jesus was asked if he could do something, he said, "What do you mean, if I can?" Anything is possible for a person who believes. Well, that's all for today. For further study, I put some scriptures for you in the description of this video. Make sure you check those out. And I'll be praying for you to receive revelation from God about your covenant with him. Have a blessed week.